Shalom, family. Okay, so what I did was I went through each of the fruits of the flesh in Galatians 5, and I wrote down each physical ailment related to that fruit of the flesh. So I thought that would help us during this time of fasting. And I was going to type it all out. I was going to section it off because it's a lot of fruits of the flesh in Galatians 5. So I was going to do all that, but I changed my mind because making a video is so much faster. I screenshot what Google showed me because all you have to do is put this stuff in Google and you can see exactly what I saw. So the first fruit of the flesh that I did was adultery and fornication. I could have did adultery and then fornication, but they kind of are similar, so I just compiled them together. Now, the effects on the body with when you are committing adultery or fornication, of course, are STDs, unwanted pregnancy. You have thoughts, evil thoughts, like thoughts of getting abortions because you have this unwanted pregnancy now that you wouldn't have had you not been doing this. Unwanted soul ties. You have lack of self-control. People who commit adultery and fornicate are more prone to drug and alcohol addiction than people who have self-control and don't do those things. It tends to make you unhealthy. It tends to make you not really care about your diet and how you eat. You have shame, guilt. You have a lack of respect for yourself and for the person that you are committing this act with. It says you have an irrational or impulsive urge to like an irrational or impulsive behavior. So the things that you do doesn't really make sense at that time. And then you're impulsive because you're like, well, I got to do it right now. And, you know, like some people who commit adultery, they may not usually would commit adultery in the daytime, or they may not usually would commit adultery while their spouse is off of work. But because they have no self-control and now they have this impulsive behavior and they've been sleeping with this person, now they have soul ties with this person. Now it's like, oh, well, I'm willing to risk something that I normally would not be willing to risk so that I can gratify my lust at this time. That's an impulsive behavior or irrational behavior, because that doesn't make sense. If you're married, why would you risk doing that? Especially in broad daylight where people can see, like. And then the last thing on here was adultery and fornication damages your memory. I did not know that. So you tend to have memory loss by committing these acts. It says it has lasting. You have the person doing these things has lasting mental images or experiences that taint future intimacy in marriage or in future relationships. So, and I'm pretty sure we all could agree to that when maybe we all didn't commit adultery, but probably every single one of us fornicate. And then we come into the truth. Now we're worshiping God, and now the Lord gives us somebody. Or even if the Lord doesn't give us somebody and you're just by yourself, sometimes those things that we did in the past play over in our head, right? So even though we're not actively doing those things, and even though we repented from those things, they still have a lasting impression on our mind. They still have a lasting impression on probably what we like or what we don't like, or what we want to feel based off of what we felt in the past. And all those things are not of God, because had we never done that, we would never have been exposed to that. And now here you are married. Your husband done fornicated all his life. You done fornicated all your life. And now y'all coming together trying to have one union under God. But y'all both still have these mental images and these experiences that y'all had with other people. And I mean, it does play a role in intimacy. So while we're on the adultery and fornication topic, we're going to go ahead and discuss lasciviousness, which is also another fruit of the flesh in Galatians 5. So people who commit lasciviousness, really, really eye-opening. They tend to have chronic stress. They have obsessive thoughts that they cannot control. Okay, so this is when you get your people who masturbate and can't stop. I've had somebody masturbate to me in public while I was shopping at Walmart. That's lascivious. That is considered lasciviousness. What is wrong with you? This is where you get your people who have who commit bestiality or pedophilia or rape people, like, because they literally, it's like a sickness. It's a sickness. People who commit this tend to be guilty. They have poor health. It says they have increased illnesses. They are constantly aroused. Like, the smallest things arouse them. So that's so weird. They have high blood pressure, anxiety, chronic pelvic pain. They have psychological stress. They have stomach pain, stomach ulcers from excessive indulgence. Is that not crazy? Like, the more you feed your lust and your flesh, the more harmful it is to your body. Like, imagine like overeating or doing this lasciviousness all the time. Like, you breaking your body down. That's not good. Let's see, they have migraines, IBS syndrome. They have eating disorders. They have lack of self-care. They usually is accompanied by drug or alcohol addiction. So almost every single person that commits lasciviousness has some type of drug or alcohol addiction. That is so sad. They have trauma responses in the brain. They eventually get criminally charged because stuff like this, what's in a man's heart gonna come out. So you over here thinking about little girls, or you thinking about little boys, or you doing stuff because you can't control yourself. Eventually that stuff is gonna come out, and hopefully you get criminally charged and punished with jail time and fines, and you have to register as sex offenders. Let's see. And then it's like a domino effect, because once that person is criminally charged, then what happens? Now you have extra health issues from being in jail, because you have lack of health care, lack of access to health care in jail. Now you're more prone to violence because now you have to fight. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is uncleanness. So I did 2 different types of uncleanness. I'm going to put them down here. So I got spiritual uncleanness and physical uncleanness. So physically, you foster bacteria, viruses, parasites, infections, skin diseases, severe illnesses, body odor, acne. We all know those things. Spiritually, being unclean could cause you to have exhaustion, fatigue. It could cause you to be restless. It could cause you to have seizures. It could cause you to have tremors. You will be stressed out. It has negative emotions, headaches, muscle tension, digestive problems, feelings of anxiety, respiratory issues, diarrhea. All these things come along with uncleanness. That's why God give us the cleanliness laws. God is so thoughtful. He's so mindful. He give us cleanliness laws. Everything that he tell us to not do is for our benefit. How do we benefit God by being clean? How do we benefit God by not committing adultery on our husbands or our wives? How do we benefit God by not being lascivious? None of these things are for him. They're all for us, for the good of us. He knows more than, he's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I'm not going to put it into detail why you shouldn't be doing it, but if you want to look up the reason why, you can. But yeah, probably not a good idea to be doing those things. All right. Idolatry. Effects on the body are exhaustion, stress, self-destructive addictions, loss of spiritual sensitivity. So you tend to feel like there is no God, or you tend to feel like God is not listening to you, or you have a harder time hearing your conscience. You have a harder time hearing that voice in your head that tells you probably shouldn't do something. Yeah, when you commit idolatry and you're a chronic idolizer, yeah, you don't hear that voice anymore. You have a disconnect from your creator. Death. You have a higher death rate. People who idolize, who commit idolatry, have a higher death rate than people who don't. Is that not crazy? Let's see. You are impurity, disease, degradation of your body, discontentment. You tend to ignore your own health and your own well-being for your God or whatever it is that you're worshiping. You have mental anguish. You commit bodily harm. You have a false sense of security. And this is what came to me as I was writing these notes down. Your idol, regardless of what your idol is, if it's an object, or if it's a person, if it's a feeling, if it's some type of gratification that you're seeking, whatever your idol is, you just look at it like this. Your idol is a narcissist. Imagine if you've never been in a relationship with a narcissist, then maybe you should Google it. But I'm pretty sure every one of us on this call have ran into a narcissist at some point in life. Okay, even if we weren't personally with a person who was a narcissist. Imagine that being your God. Whatever it is that you putting over the Most High, that thing is technically a narcissist, and it gaslights you into worshiping it, into making you feel like you need it. Okay, witchcraft. So witchcraft physically torments you. You have convulsions, negative energy. You have pain, psychological or spiritual consequences, mental anguish, eating disorders. You're restless, and spiritual aspect is you get insomnia. You get all types of mental illnesses like schizophrenia. Soul ties come along with witchcraft. So I don't know too many people that deal with witchcraft, but yeah, witchcraft is bad for the person doing it and for the person that they're putting the witchcraft on. Okay, come tell them. This is just going to the group. Ain't nobody gonna see this.
Oh, okay. All right, 1 Samuel 15. Let's go by context though. And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken that the fat of rams. 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. He have also rejected thee from being king.
So what he just read, rebellion is the exact same as witchcraft. So all those things I read that happen when you commit witchcraft, if you being rebellious to the Most High, if you're being a rebellious husband, a rebellious wife, if you're a child and you're being rebellious to your parents, these are things that's going to affect you physically and spiritually. You're going to be affected as if you were doing witchcraft. Hatred. So I did hatred, wrath, and strife together because they all are similar, but they are a little different, but they are similar. So I did those three together. Let's see, you have an elevated cortisol and adrenaline. So your nervous system like ramps up when you have hatred, when you are angry, which is wrath, or when you have strife, when you're mad at somebody else and like you really want to harm them or mad at a situation or whatever. You have inflammation in your body. You have high blood pressure. Your immune system weakens. So just imagine hating somebody for 10 years. Like, could you imagine that person's physical health? You have increased heart attack, stroke, anxiety, depression, insomnia. Your body physically break down. People who have this disorder or who do these things, they're typically more paranoid. They have obsessive control disorders or whatever, where like they just want to be in charge and they want to be possessive. They have fatigue, they have digestive problems, they have weight gain. Let's see. They have chronic anger. They sow discord. Like, these are people who I don't want to be around. And I pray I'm never like this, because whenever I get angry, I typically try to check myself real quick. I don't want to be this type of woman. I don't want to be this type of wife, this type of daughter, this type of sister, this type of servant. I don't want to be like this. But I do know people, like, in the truth, that have all of these characteristics. So I mean, I can only say, well, you have those characteristics because you're indulging in the fruit of the flesh, which is seditions and heresies. Let's see, I did both of those together, by the way. So you got rebellion, bad doctrine. So heresies is like people preaching false doctrine. And seditions is kind of like wrath and strife. You have anger, you have strife, you have violence, you have a lack of unity among people. So whenever you see a bunch of Israelites or a bunch of people, period, and they can't seem to get together, they can't seem to get on one accord, they can't seem to ever make plans and keep the plans. And you always got somebody in the group that don't want to be around this person. Or you always got another person in the group that feels like it's unfair because they're doing it at this person's house. Or pay attention to these things, because these people are operating in the fruits of the flesh. It doesn't matter that they say Yahuwah at the end of every sentence. It doesn't matter that they turn around and say in Jesus' name. Those things don't matter. These people have fleshly desires that they're lusting after, because the scripture says we're only tempted after our own lust. So whatever they're doing, trust me, it was already in them to do those things. That's why we have to cast our imaginations down. We have to deny ourselves daily. Paul said he dies to himself daily. This is a daily thing. Confusion, lies, those things, all those things come with people who operate in seditions and heresies, because they're also similar. So people who participate in variance and emulations and envy they're more likely to die. They typically have heart disease. They have metabolic issues. They envy each other. They also have strife towards one another. They have severe stress. They have mental, emotional, and physical decay. There's division and disorder amongst them. They have negative emotions. They're jealous. They're selfish. They're destructive to their own self and to other people. They sow discord. They're constantly contentious, meaning they just want to argue all the time. They have emotional distress. They can't regulate their emotions. They're all over the place. It says they have a spiritual decline. So they might be up here when it's the Sabbath day, and then towards the end of the Sabbath day, they just, they have no self-control. Like I said, they have no emotional regulation. And then that typically turns into depression. Now you're not eating right. Now you have a poor diet. Now you're rebellious. Now you're mad at everybody, and it's everybody else's fault. And you want to rebel against the Most High because you're not being told what you want to be told about envying somebody or wanting to be with somebody's boyfriend or whatever the case may be. All right. So now we got murder. This one was probably the most interesting for me. And it was so long, I had to break this down into 3 different parts. So you got the person who gets murdered, okay, the victim of being murdered. They're dead. Immediately, they have a physical disruption that leads to death. If they don't die right away, they're leading up to it, right? That I figured out what algor mortis was. I did not know. Algor mortis is when your body is cold. So when you go and touch a dead person, you're like, oh, they're cold. Then you know they're dead. And rigor mortis is when they stiffen up and they get hard. And then the next stage of death is decomposition. So all of those things take place on the victim that is murdered. Then you got those who survive, like those who survive their attempted murder, or you got the witnesses that actually see somebody get killed. Those people, it says they face profound, lasting physical stress. They have increased heart rate. They have hypertension, insomnia. They have chronic pain. These people deal with stress-related illnesses. They're nauseous. They have headaches. They have fatigue. They have heart disease. They have PTSD. They have physical pain in their chest that is medically diagnosed. It's called a broken heart. Could you imagine being the cause to have somebody else suffer medically for what is called a broken heart because you killed somebody in front of them or because you tried to kill them? Could you imagine inflicting these things onto another person based off of your actions? Then the last thing about the murder is the perpetrator. So the person who actually commits the murder, they typically have trauma. Sometimes they deal with guilt. They have a guilty conscience. They also have PTSD. They typically have respiratory problems. They have an increased heart rate. They deal with nausea, an upset stomach, indigestion, diarrhea. They have headaches, tremors, chills, sweating, lack of coordination. Could you imagine killing somebody and now you can't even walk straight? They have high blood pressure. They have insomnia. They deal with nightmares. They're restless. They're always fatigued. They have exhaustion. Their body is constantly in a heightened state of alert. That sometimes they feel shame, remorse. They have fear. They have depression, anger. Sometimes people commit murder. They lose their memory and their mind go bad. They have confusion, disorientation. They have the inability to concentrate. People who commit murder can't focus. They can't focus. They have rumination. They typically isolate themselves. They become socially estranged. They almost always have an increased drug or alcohol addiction. So if they wasn't doing drug and alcohol, they probably are after they commit the murder, right? And if they was already doing it, it probably got worse. And lastly, they usually commit suicide. So those are all the characteristics of people who murder other people and the people who have to suffer at the hands of the murderer. All right, so we got 3 more. We got 2 more because I'm going to do drunkenness and revelings on the same one because they're almost the same also. And then I'm going to do unforgiveness last. So drunkenness and reveling, people who partake in these things, let's see, it says it impairs their central nervous system. It slows their reaction time. They have a loss of coordination also. They have lower inhibitions. They have an impaired judgment, dehydration, increased heart rate, stomach and digestive issues. They have liver, heart, brain damage. They have slurred speech. They have mood swings. So they are emotionally unregulated also. They have loss of memory. So all these things are crazy because they all kind of fall in line with the other things, right? Like all of the symptoms of these fruits of the flesh are kind of all the same. They all are stressed out. They all have high blood pressure. They all have headaches. Like it's all kind of the same. Let's see. People who get drunk typically have low blood pressure, which leads to heat loss in their body. You ever wonder why you see homeless people or drunk people who get drunk in the middle of the wintertime and then they freeze to death? Because they don't know they're cold, because they're drunk. They don't know what's going on. They're disoriented and they don't feel cold because they have low blood pressure and their body is constantly losing heat. So then they freeze to death and they die. People who get drunk, they typically end up having cancer or stroke or dementia, pneumonia. And people who do revelings, that's unrestrained partying. So that's people who just cannot control themselves. They go all out. They typically have organ damage. A lot of these people die because they don't have any control over their body. It's just like, it is what it is. Whatever the night is, that's what we doing. They have behavior dysfunctions. They have emotional instability, strife. They have addictions. They have permanent nerve damage. They have hearing loss from all the music, slurred speech, tremors, damage to the immune system. They have a cognitive decline. They're irritable, they're disoriented, they're prone to being victimized because you like to party all the time. Now, these people over here see that you drunk, they finna take advantage of you, they finna steal your stuff, they finna steal your car, they finna steal your stuff, they finna take your shoes off your feet. You know what I'm saying? They finna victimize you. Or in bad scenarios, worst case scenarios, you might get raped because you want to go out and have fun and party. You just want to get drunk and turn up. Now you getting raped by 2-3 men and you don't even know what's going on. Is unforgiveness. Now, unforgiveness is not specifically in the Bible, but if you go look up fruits of the flesh, like a modern version or like a child friendly, because it does have a lot of sexual immoralities in there and that I don't want to teach my children right away. But if you look up like a child friendly one, they'll give you like grudges. Like a grudge is a part of fruits of the flesh, and a grudge is definitely a fruit of the flesh. So another word for grudge is unforgiveness. And what I found is people who lack unforgiveness, they have chronic stress. They have elevated cortisol also. They have elevated heart rate all the time. They have high blood pressure. They tend to have a weakened immune system. They're more likely to have cardiovascular disease, which is like heart disease. Anything dealing with your heart is where your cardiovascular system is. They have chronic pain in different areas of their body. They don't sleep very well. They have bitterness. They have anxiety. They have depression. All of this because you don't want to forgive somebody who did something wrong to you. So you want to feel this? Unforgiveness. When I looked it up on Google, it said unforgiveness affects the person who is doing the unforgiving more than it even affects the person who did whatever they did to make you mad in the first place. So you're literally hurting yourself more than you're hurting the person that you won't forgive. What I take from this is imagine, well, I don't have to imagine because we all was in the world. And so we all was going through these, we all was in our flesh. So we might not have did every one of those. We probably did a good amount of them. You know what I'm saying? Especially those sexual sins, which is crazy because all the sexual sins, the scripture says that that is the only sin that you commit with your body. Every other sin you committed in your mind. 1 Corinthians 6:18. That's the scripture. That's the having sex, fornicating, adultery, lasciviousness. Those are the only sins that you actually have to use your temple. You actually have to use your body to do that sin. So let's say you deal with revelings, right? You deal with revelings, and whenever you go out partying, you getting drunk. So you're dealing with revelings, you're dealing with drunkenness, you're dealing with wrath and strife and anger, because now if anybody say anything to you, you ready to fight. You dealing with hatred, you dealing with idolatry, because now you have become your own God. Now you're idolizing yourself. I look good, you up in the club, you taking pictures, you doing all this, you know what I'm saying? Like you have literally become your God, and if anybody disrespects you, it's on and popping, right? Let's just stop right there. Let's just say that you're committing those 3, 4, whatever fruits of the flesh. Then on top of that, let's add everyday life, okay? So add unhealthy eating habits, because we all have unhealthy eating habits. Let's add unnecessary surgery. Those women who get BBLs or anybody who does unnecessary things to their body. You're putting your body under anesthesia, and then you're going under the knife for absolutely no reason other than a vain purpose. stress from parenthood. Don't let you be a mom or a dad and you got kids at the house that you got to take care of, and don't let none of them children have a disability or a behavior issue. And now you're think about it, you're adding all those things on top of already stressful situations. Imagine what you're doing to your body. Imagine what you're doing. Your body is trying to repair itself, and your body is constantly stressed out. God knew what he was talking about when he said, don't do these things. These things ain't good for you. These things are going to hurt you. They're going to harm you. Don't do them. And the fact that people will really try to tell you that these things are not only okay, but they don't go against God's law. That person that tells you that person wants you to die. That person is trying to kill you, literally and physically. That is the devil saying that. An angel would never say that. Only Satan can lie. Only Satan would tell those lies. That person who tells you don't got to keep the commandments, you don't got to keep the law, that law of God is no good, it's gone. They're telling you that it's okay to get drunk. It's okay to go out partying all the time. It's okay to kill people. It's okay to attempt to kill people. It's okay to rape somebody if you can't control yourself because you suffer from lasciviousness. They're telling you that these things are okay. It's okay to hate your brother or your sister. It's okay to have idolatry. What did I just read? Which part of the characteristics that I read did y'all think was okay to do, or okay to feel, or an okay way to act? I don't. Anyway, so I'm going to do the fruits of the Spirit. I'm going to plan to do the fruits of the Spirit on the 4th day. I love you.